For Victims and Villains, my name is Josh, and today we are talking about Immaculate. Immaculate tells the story of Cecilia, a woman who moves from the States to Italy to live in a new parish among other nuns and finds out that her newfound home actually comes with a pretty dark secret attached to it. I want to suggest that the less you know about this movie, the harder it hits. Like, this image right here, sold me on the film. I didn't know anything about it. I knew it was a nunsploitation film. I knew Sydney Sweeney was in it, and I knew there was blood involved, and that was all I needed to know. Honestly, coming out of this movie, I don't even know really where to go with this movie in terms of what to talk about first. Let me just start by saying I loved this movie, and I can definitely see this being in my top 10 of the year, if not perhaps even my top 5 films of the year. Sydney Sweeney, I have only seen her in a handful of stuff. Everything Sucks, Euphoria, Anyone But You, Madam Web, we don't need to talk about it, but she was in it. But this is probably a career best performance for her. It feels like a pretty bold statement to make considering how young in her career she is, but out of everything that I've ever seen her in, this is definitely the best performance that she's given. It'll definitely go down as a strong career highlight when she's doing one of those GQ iconic roles or career reflection retrospective reports. I think the thing that I found so illuminating about her character and about her performance is that there's just an innocence, and you just kind of, as the film goes on, you just kind of see this innocence just slowly just ripped out from underneath of her. Make no mistake, this film understands the art of exploitation, and having it be a nunsploitation film, 100%, this is very much embracing both of those subgenres of horror. And I think what really elevates those elements in this movie is Sydney Sweeney's performance, as well as the script from Andrew Lobel. Michael Mohan has great direction in this. This is the first film I've seen from him. I do know that this is the second collaboration between him and Sweeney, with The Voyeurs being the first one. I need to check that off my watch list. It's been there for a couple years now. Pacing of this movie is impeccable. This film right out the gate grips you and never really lets you go. Like, there are these, within the first act, there's a bunch of really weird things that happen, but they are just picture perfect Easter eggs and seeds that pay off in just incredible ways. Honestly, this movie made me never look at rosaries ever the same again, and that is for the better. What I love about this movie isn't the performances, it's not the writing, it's not the gags and how it is horror infused, but it's these multi-layered commentaries that the film brings and leaves the audience with. I get it, not everyone looks at film the same way that I do. I'm very analytical. It's been made it's a running joke for all of us over at Abyss Gazing. But honestly, I think this movie does a really good job at showcasing the subject of gaslighting, specifically how men do it to women very profoundly, and also how the church, specifically the Catholic Church, has done it for many years. And on that subject, if you've never seen Spotlight, it's a heavy movie thematically, but it proves my point about Catholic Church gaslighting people, and it's an incredible film. And this film has one of the most satisfying endings that I've seen from a film in a long time. I talked about how gripping the opening sequence was, and having that book ended with a really satisfying ending. This film is just absolutely beautiful and spectacular. It's shot incredibly, literally it looks beautiful, but also just it's a very satisfying conclusion when you reach the end. I'm ready to run this one through the Rorschach rating scale. I know we're only in March, and I've already given out one of these to Late Night with the Devil. Stay tuned to the end to check out the review on that one. But I'm going to go ahead and give Immaculate a 5 out of 5. I absolutely loved this film. Again, this film is highlighted by a career best performance from Sydney Sweeney. It is paced marvelously. It satisfies every inch for horror that you've seen. This is one of the best exploitation films we've gotten in years. This is one of the best nunsploitation films we've gotten in years. It has a powerful commentary. It is a gut punch in certain places, like this movie. Also, I didn't talk about this in the video, but the comedy in this just kind of comes out randomly, and it works really well. Immaculate is the type of movie that I watch and say I can definitely see this being one of my contenders for best film of the year. I can definitely see this being one of the best genre pictures of the year, and I absolutely adored this movie from start to finish. So if you guys have seen Immaculate, what did you guys think about it? Comment below and let me know. Let's talk about mental health. If you guys are new to our content, Mental Health Moment is where we take a theme of mental health out of the film which we're reviewing, talk about it for a few moments in the hopes to deconstruct the stigma surrounding mental health. Honestly, without getting into too much spoilers of this film, one of the core themes of this movie is identity and really understanding who you are as an individual, but also at the same time not letting others dictate who your identity is or what you think it should be. I think identity is one of those things that we have a tendency as humanity to really kind of underplay or overlook sometimes. And if we do either one of those things, it's dangerous territory for our own mental health, because we have this process of giving into things of how people see us, and whether that is subjects of bullying or a number of other negative things. It has a long-term negative effects on our mental health, which could result in things like depression, anxiety, developing trauma responses, addiction, self-harm, self-hatred, and or even suicide. So I really don't want to just spend a whole lot of time hammering it in, but I just want to ask, when was the last time you considered your identity, and do you know who you are? If you were asked that right now, comment below and let me know, what's identity mean to you? And sometimes it's a long process of finding out. It's a lot of trial and error sometimes, but if you know it, you know it. And if you or someone you know is struggling with suicide, addiction, self-harm, or depression, please click the links in the show notes below to check out our mental health resource library. Immaculate is now playing in theaters everywhere from Neon. Hit that subscribe button below, and remember to keep it classy and to keep it creepy.